rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello there, Whiskey Warriors. Ultimate P1s, let me tell you. Hello, everyone. Also, thank you to all of your guests, any lurkers, other folks that might have joined. Welcome to American Perspective. I am Rick Thomas, and I am your host for this wonderful evening. Before I get too involved, it looks like Biden has retreated to Camp David. I got some of that tonight, mostly discussing that. And then things are starting to shape up a little weird because even the left side of the House is starting to notice that maybe there's some sort of a little plot to replace Biden. It could be that, Dan Bongino, who's been talking about him being replaced for literally weeks now, may have been right. There was a couple of articles on that. And as far as that goes, let's go ahead and get things started off. I haven't seen, definitely not Karen in the Rumble chat yet, but let's go running around here and pick up on some folks. I see Amy Jean Viner. I see Buddy Weiser. I see Bonnie. Let's see. I don't see anyone other than that in the... Oh, there's Coco. Coco popped in. And over on Facebook, I'm not seeing anybody over there. So tonight must be a kind of a low-key night. That's cool. That's cool. Maybe they took last night's announcement to heart and figured that I wasn't going to be streaming tonight because, again, programming note, tomorrow night and Saturday night, there will be no shows. So tomorrow night and Saturday night, there is no shows. My company, Active Eye Media, is the videographer for my daughter's final recital. She is a senior this year, so this is her final recital, and I'm doing the videography as I've done in the last couple of years. So no shows tomorrow night or Saturday night. We'll pick back up again on Monday. Calling out Silent McGroin. Welcome. Thank you for coming on over. And I see Fat Paws as well. Fat Paws is over too. Hello and welcome to you as well. All right, let's get things kicked off with definitely not Karen's version of the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would please, Amy is asking recital in what? It's a dance recital. She is a competitive dancer, and this is her final recital for her dance studio. Yeah, so this is the final one for all of them, and then she'll go off to nationals and things like that as well. Here later, but this is just the production that the studio puts on. Has all the littles and everything else. Believe me, it's really kind of funny to watch, but the little tiny kids, the ones that are like 3 to 4 to 5 years old, it's really fun to watch them get led on the stage, do their little thing, shaking or whatever, and then they, head on off the stage. It's a really big production. They do it in one of the performing arts centers around here, and so yeah, it's a lot of fun for them. And of course, my daughter's been instructing them as well, some of the classes and stuff, because she's just all around dancer, just an amazing dancer, but she's all doing all around stuff, and so she'll be moving into it being one of the instructors at the studio. Not that she wasn't already, but she'll be moving into doing the instructing kind of more of a full-time instructor next year as she goes off to college, of course. So sorry, proud papa. Anyway, hello, Monique over on Facebook. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining. All right, let's get back on track. And where we get back on track, of course, is with definitely not Karen's rendition of the Pledge of Allegiance. So please, if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hats like me, and put your hand over your heart, and let's be led by Definitely Not Karen in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I thank you, Definitely Not Karen, for putting that together. As always, we start the shows off with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you'd like to get your version of the Pledge of Allegiance put in, then all you need to do is record yourself saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And once you have done so, send me the file, audio file, and I will be able to get you into the rotation. You can do that by sending it via email to fans@americanperspective.online. That's fans@americanperspective.online. Now, as Bonnie pointed out in the Rumble chat, my website has been down for a little while, and it's because there were some things that apparently broke, and I wasn't aware of it, so I had to take it offline in order to hopefully get it fixed, and I had to work with some customer support as well, with both my website provider as well as the programmer. And so now I can announce that it is back up. So you can head on over to, and it's mostly, folks, it's a work in progress, the main website, but the store is back up and functional. So you can go to store.americanperspective.online. Yes, that's store.americanperspective.online. And you'll be able to see, as soon as I can get it up here, where is it? There it is. You can get American Perspective logoed gear there. Now, I've got sweatshirts and hoodies and t-shirts and tank tops for now. So all you have to do is just go and really run around and look at some of the things that you want. They've got them in different colors, a few different styles, that kind of stuff. So yeah, you can go and check it out. Go to store.americanperspective.online. And I absolutely would appreciate that. That would be fantastic if you would go ahead and do that. I'm actually, probably because it's turning into summer and I'm going to have some challenges with these cotton polos, I may switch over to some t-shirts, some of my t-shirts here in the new in the summertime for that. So check it out at store.americanperspective.online. And like I said, thank you very much for your support in that. All right. So before I get into Biden and Biden taking off to Camp David, apparently, for some rest, relaxation, and debate prep, or at least that's what they say. My guess is they're probably going to be like hooking him up to some sort of IV and give him a whole bunch of vitamin B12 or, gosh knows what is going on there. But here is something that, of course, should cause the Democrats even more pause when it comes to the whole Trump versus Biden going all over, here in 2024, the rematch, let's say. So here in the National Pulse, now this is not typical. Just like what you have seen with the black population and the Hispanic population sliding ever so slightly over to Trump, the polls are starting to show that there is a movement afoot to go away from the Democrat Party for those groups of people. We now have another voting bloc, not just young people, but we have another voting bloc that has been traditionally a staunch Democrat bloc, and there's now some cracks in the foundation there. You can see this in the National Pulse. unions are starting to flirt with Trump as the Biden coalition unravels. Now, for those of you that don't know, in order to get elected here in the United States, you kind of have to put together a coalition of voting blocks. Typically, what ends up happening is unions will vote for Democrats regardless. They just do a Democrat no matter who. Now, that being said, that is usually also the union leadership that backs those folks and encourages the membership to do so as well. That doesn't necessarily mean that the members actually follow that. I can tell you from experience in a couple of unions that it's generally the case, but that doesn't always follow suit in that particular space. Now, that being the case, there are some major unions, according to this piece in the National Pulse, where the Teamsters, where they're flirting with the idea of endorsing Donald Trump, and Democrats are starting to freak out. Because of the fact that unions and union voters have typically been a reliable voting bloc. Once again, the typical reliable voting blocks for this year seem to be crumbling a little bit based on all of the information that we're getting through polling and polling data. So this is a big development here. The Teamsters themselves, which is one of the largest unions in the U.S., made a rare donation to the RNC after their president, Sean O'Brien, met with Trump. O'Brien has also requested speaking slots at both the Republican and Democrat conventions, signaling potential bipartisan engagement. Now, that's, again, not very typical of this. Now, if we pull out and go to more of a 30,000-foot view of this situation, Joe Biden, of course, loves to call himself the most pro-union president. But last September, you'll recall that he dropped in on a UAW protest, United Auto Workers protest, for a brief photo op. So according to exit polling, however, union voters originally swung for Biden by 16% in 2020, but according to the most recent polling today, he leads by just 9%. That's a big hit. That's like almost half. That's almost 50% loss. So, yeah, this is a bit of a problem for the Biden camp. And of course, you know, that's causing them to be concerned. According to the Daily Caller here, they're freaking out that this reliable interest group might be moving toward the Republican Party for this year. And it's causing them a big upset. Now, Biden captured the union vote by a significant margin in 2020. And of course, he keeps calling himself the most pro-union president. I already pointed that out. But like typical, he is using that support and he is taking it for granted. He's just assuming, of course, that the typical Democrat voter is going to continue to vote for him, and that's part of the problem. Now, Democratic Representative Dan Kildee of Michigan told Axios, "We need to be concerned. We can't just assume people are going to figure it out for themselves. We've got to tell the story." Now, if you recall, Trump was stuck in New York during his New York trial, and he went and visited and gave out a bunch of free food, I think, or something, to some union workers who were building a building in New York. Now, keep in mind, there's 3 places in the United States that are 100% always union when it comes to jobs. 1 is New York, 2 is Chicago, and 3 is Las Vegas. Everything in terms of the construction trades and electrical trades are always union, 100%. So he went and visited this work site, and you'll recall that one colorful union worker, construction worker, who basically told Joe Biden where he could stick it in his most colorful terms on camera with the local with the local news agency. So yeah, this is a big problem for the Democrats, even more so, and this just continues to pile on as we get closer and closer to 2024. Now, that being said, keep in mind, that's going to cause some serious problems as we move into 2024. We're going to have, they're going to get desperate, even more desperate than what they are now. And in fact, we're starting to hear some things from that are sort of leaking out internally with regards to what's happening in terms of the Biden camp and the Biden's coalition going on. But before all of that can occur, before we can see the ultimate result in November, we have to prepare for 1 week from today. 1 week from today, both presidential candidates, because of course RFK Jr. did not qualify. That window closed today, and he unfortunately did not make it to get into the debates in 1 week, which actually, believe it or not, actually favors Joe Biden even more so than what he had from before. But anyway, and I'll get to some of the favoritism that Joe Biden is going to get based on the debate rules. But before I do that, he has apparently, according to Town Hall, he has apparently moved off to Camp David, and he's remaining out of town for an extended stay starting today. Now, that reportedly is because of the fact that they need to set him up for next week's debate with former President Donald Trump and soon to be next President Donald Trump. But the FAA, and the reason that we know that he's there for this entire week over at Camp David is because a FAA notice to airmen, or NOTAM, confirmed that there's a no-fly zone around Camp David until next Thursday, which will be the date of Biden's showdown on CNN. And so, yeah, that's there you go. This Miranda Devine shows it on X that the presidential no-fly zone alert is up for pilots, so that Joe Biden is going to be at Camp David for the next full 7 days. So we're probably not going to hear a lot from him during that time because, of course, it's stressful to prep for a debate, essentially. And the question, of course, will be whether or not all of this is going to help Joe Biden to face his opponent, which realistically, let's face it, Joe is not going up against Trump by himself. Okay. Not going to happen. And the reason being is because, of course, first, it is a CNN debate. Second, you have the moderators. And the moderators, of course, are going to be anti-Trump. That's already set in stone. But the campaigns agreed to some of the rules with regards to the CNN debate already. This came out earlier this week. And it essentially CNN outlined the rules for it. Now, there's going to be mic muting. There's going to be podiums. They can't have any notes with them. They're not supposed to. So that's actually an advantage toward Trump. But the mic muting is definitely going to be a bit of a problem, as well as the fact that they have a couple commercial breaks that are going to pop in on that. Now, that is historical because typically the presidential debates do not have any commercial breaks within them. So that's going to give the Biden team and Biden himself some time to, relax, regroup his thoughts, maybe get a shot of adrenaline or whatever it is that they're planning on shooting him up with. But anyway, it's going to be a 90-minute debate with 2 commercial breaks. Campaign staff are not supposed to interact with their candidate during that time. They both agreed to appear at a uniform podium. Their podium positions will be determined by a coin flip. Microphones will be muted. So unfortunately, Trump, who has a fantastic way of getting in sharp quips and jabs like he did in 2016 with Hillary Clinton about the whole thing of her being in jail, which was the clip of the 2016 presidential debates. He's not going to be able to do that necessarily this time around. So again, kind of a lean toward Biden. There's no props or pre-written notes allowed on the stage. Now, the props thing, that would have been classic had Trump been able to do something like Ron DeSantis did against Gavin Newsom in their governor-to-governor debate, where Ron DeSantis pulled out the map of human feces placements throughout the city of San Francisco. I got to tell you, when I saw that clip, that was just awesome. That is just awesome. Oh, and I'm being told apparently that by one of my wonderful audience, Amy over on Rumble, saying that the coin flip's already been done and Biden won the flip and took the last to speak. So there's also an absence of a studio audience, which of course robs Trump of his showmanship ability, and that kind of thing. And the moderators will use all of the tools at their disposal to enforce timing and ensure a civilized discussion, according to the network. So those are just some of the rules that are being out there. Well, you know, a lot of people looked at those rules and were like, oh my gosh, you know, that really leans toward Joe Biden's way. And a former employee, according to the Blaze Media here, former CNN employee spills the beans on how CNN's debate rules benefit Biden. So, as I've pointed out, the rules were announced: muted microphones, commercial breaks, no live audience, no opening statements, no use of pre-written notes, and of course, everything else. Well, this Chris Cillizza, Cillizza. I have no idea how to pronounce that. It's obviously something very strange. But anyway, Chris said that he is surprised that the Trump campaign agreed to the rules because, in his view, it benefits Biden. Like I already pointed out, the muted microphones are definitely going to help keep Trump from interjecting in between and interrupting Biden, which is really going to limit the former president's ability to smack him around. But that does benefit Biden. The commercial breaks benefit Biden because you can't show the stamina between the two men because, of course, Trump and Biden are both, it's 90 minutes with commercial breaks, so they'll be able to like sit down, drink some water, so on and so forth. However, they're not supposed to be able to consult with their campaign staff, which is fine, but that gives Biden a little bit of time to regroup for it. The no studio audience I've already mentioned, with about the fact that Trump supporters can't interrupt, can't be loud, can't be over the top for him, of course. And the pre-written note thing, though, is definitely a shot against Biden. And also, too, there's no teleprompter either. So we know, and actually, believe it or not, in both cases, we do know that both of these candidates do have a propensity to slide off the track or the rails, per se, whenever you take away their props. But realistically, Trump is going to have a much better time with the extemporaneous comments and speeches and things like that than Biden is going to. Now, the second attempt is supposed to take place on September 10th with ABC hosting that debate, and we'll just have to kind of see what happens with that one. But first, we got to get through this particular one in the beginning before we move on to that one. Now, part of Biden's debate prep is that he is summoning his top guys to go off to Camp David to make sure that he doesn't get obliterated by Trump. But let's be real about this. If Biden shows up, okay, if Biden shows up and actually makes it through the entire debate without anything really major in his conversational repartee, let's say, he wins. Because realistically, what this is going to prove is whether or not the man can actually stand up to the scrutiny of being in a certain place for 90 minutes without teleprompting and not go off the rails. Now, that being said, what happens if he decides to go off the rails and gets confused and gets lost and mumbles and gets into his, true national pressure situation? Well, that basically demonstrates on live TV, unscripted, unedited, undoctored, no cheap fakes here, that he is really, really lost in front of his opponent, Donald Trump, for sure. But let's take a look at some of the people that are here. Let's see. So CBS News reported that we should expect some surprises from this debate preparation excursion. What that will be, we don't know. The 2024 playbook is a mess, this article reads in Town Hall, but it's Democrats who are making that known behind the scenes. As Rebecca wrote yesterday, a lot of Democrats find the president's mindset for how to keep his job to be tragically flawed. It relies on voter concerns about January 6th, political violence, democracy, and Donald Trump's character. So you can rest assured that they are probably going to bring that up during the debate. They are likely going to try to catch Donald Trump in a position where Donald Trump starts going off about 2020 being stolen, et cetera, et cetera. Now, hopefully the Trump team has been listening to some of the people who have been trying to suggest that he deflect that to be able to turn it back toward Joe Biden with regards to what's going on. And the reason being, of course, is that nobody really cares about January 6th anymore. Political violence certainly isn't a big deal to the American people anymore, at least not right now. And his character, meaning Trump, hasn't really taken a big hit about being about 34 felonies. As much as the left likes to keep hitting him on that, it hasn't really changed much in the way of people's opinions of him. Now, what Trump should focus on is the two biggest issues that are hitting the American table right here and right now, which is essentially the inflation rate that we are currently under and the economy itself. So if Trump can keep those on track, and of course, not by saying necessarily, I mean, he can hint at what he might do in deference, but he needs to make this debate seriously about Joe Biden and Joe Biden's last 3 years. That's what he needs to do, is that he needs to focus on that. And that is going to be probably the tactics that are going to go on between the two camps. You also have, thankfully, there's also things like immigration as well. And immigration is going to be another big one. He can point to, meaning Donald Trump can point to things like the recent murders, Laken Riley and, I can't remember her name, but the two recent murders, very, very publicized murders by illegal immigrants. And so you hit both of them. Yeah, I think that would lean definitely more toward Trump's way. Now, we all know that abortion is probably going to come up too, because that seems to be a banging drum for the Democrats, but it's not going over as well as what a lot of other people did. A lot of other people think, especially those in the Democrat camp. They're not really that much. And Trump, by announcing what he announced earlier on with regards to his position on abortion, that it really didn't, it kind of deflected the whole abortion issue in front of all of this. And so the only thing, honestly, that's going to be left after you get rid of policy is going to be personal attacks. You can almost guarantee that Trump will potentially bring up something with regards to Joe Biden and the corrupt nature of his crime family, just for some, even though he won't be able to hear it from a live studio audience, just for some sound bites that will be played afterward. They're going to, now, whether or not he stays on that track is, I think he should hit him with it just to knock Biden off his game. But I don't think he should necessarily dwell on the same thing with dwelling on 2020. 2020 happened. It was manipulated. It was taken. There's not much that can be done now. We've got to look forward. And then hopefully once he gets in, the Republicans can go and start fixing everything. He can hit Joe on that topic just to get him riled up. But other than that, I think he should just keep pointing the mirror and pointing everything over to Joe, because frankly, Joe right now is just so much of a destructive force of his own right that Trump really doesn't need to do much. Just avoid some of the pitfalls and the landmines that they are going to try and get, trying to get Trump to fall into. As long as he can avoid those traps, I think he'll be fine. So yeah. So there we go. That's what he's bringing all of his top guys in. But just as a question, because it's starting to sound like, Joe Biden is in a tailspin. We on the right know it. We've been very well aware of it. But the left is starting to hear about this as well. And the Daily Mail brought out, and this is following Nate Silver's comment on X with regards to, swapping out Joe Biden. But the Daily Mail has started to see, picked up on that, but also has started to see from some other folks that we got a bit of a problem here. And that the Democrats might be thinking about potentially swapping Joe Biden out. Now, the challenge with that, of course, is the longer that they wait to swap him out, the less likelihood they have of getting somebody who will be able to be qualified to sit on the ballots, unless they can convince Joe Biden to actually step aside. In that case, things go a little bit differently when it comes to registering for the ballots and everything else. But the thing about it is, though, who are they going to get? So this piece in the Daily Mail reveals that there is a possibility that Clinton, Obama, Pelosi, and Schumer could try to encourage Biden to step aside. Now, they also put in here when they think that they would do it. My guess is if they're going to do anything, it's going to occur after this first debate. My guess is that after this first debate, depending upon how well Biden does, and remember, the bar is pretty low. All he has to do is show up, not get angry, not fall over himself, not stumble over a bunch of words, or, as Fat Paws over on Rumble points out, crap in his breeches on stage. As long as he doesn't do any of those things, he technically has won, because he will demonstrate that he is, well enough to at least stand on stage in front of Donald Trump. But there is a couple things that they pointed out in this article that I want to bring to your attention. The Atlantic columnist Mark Leibovich cruelly stamped President Biden as Ruth Bader Biden earlier this month. And that was an obvious and very public attack on Joe Biden, and a reference to the late Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who, if you recall, was asked to retire during Barack Obama's time in office, but she refused, and she ended up passing away during Donald Trump's term, which gave us the Supreme Court justice, at least one Supreme Court justice that we do have. And James Carville, who was the political mastermind behind Bill Clinton's 2 presidential campaigns, said flat out this month that Biden shouldn't have run for re-election. Now, there's some Democrat bigwigs, an Obama campaign guru, David Axelrod, who is also mentioned, that the Biden team scheduled one of the earliest presidential debates in history. And the point is to prove to the naysayers that Joe's not going anyway. But of course, just by doing that, it carries a certain amount of risk. And essentially, that's what I'm talking about here, because if it's an efficient debate performance by Biden, it could potentially help Democrats rally a little bit. But if he has a significant misstep, it's only going to stoke more replacement chatter. Former Clinton advisor and polling expert Mark Penn suggested the CNN debate will be Biden's last chance to reassure voters that he's fit for the job. Penn said, they have deliberately thrown down the gauntlet for an early debate, and I think that's going to point at which Americans judge, is he ready for another term or not? Well, now, Daily Mail, the piece continues, dailymail.com has learned that if Joe stumbles in that first face-off with Trump, or if his polling numbers keep falling, it'll take a united front of liberal grandees to make Joe throw in the towel. And the reason being, of course, is because of the fact that, well, let's face it, it's not Joe staying in the race. It's actually Jill. Jill is forcing him to stay in the race because she loves the White House. She loves the attention. So one consultant theatrically described the difficulty level of replacing their candidate as similar to trying to turn that doomed container ship that careened into the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore in May. So they would have a serious problem unless they have everything pre-planned and very carefully executed for this to do it. Now, political columnist Joe Klein theorized in a recent newsletter that if Biden were to stand down, a vigorous young candidate could win over the country with a single convention speech in August. Now, in that scenario, Democrat Party savior would have to deliver something like an Obama-esque inspirational speech akin to Barack's famous 2004 Democratic Convention address that would quickly bring together disaffected Democrats and moderate independents. But who they're going to get for that, I have no idea. There's another potential complication, according to the piece here. As the recognized leader of the Democrat Party, a stubborn Biden could refuse to step down and fight on into Election Day, even as the party grows more exasperated with his performance. And the reason being, of course, is Biden thinks he is the FDR of our era. He believes he has done awesome. He thinks and is, told by his inner circle that he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And of course, as long as he keeps thinking that way, he's gonna have some definite challenges if they're gonna try and pull him out. Okay. That being said, out of the people that might be able to turn him, meaning Pelosi, Bill Clinton, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, the one person that he's showing growing resentment of, which is Obama. Now, I've told you on this program, and I've heard it from very reliable sources, that Obama and Biden hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. The former president, meaning Obama, backed Hillary Clinton in 2016 over Biden, and even reportedly tried to stop Biden from running in 2020. Both Barack and Michelle Obama have appeared to intentionally keep their distance from the White House. Well, that's obviously not entirely true, because we saw Obama be on the stage with Joe with that famous hand grab, pulling him off the stage, showing him where he's going. Telling him where to go. So anyway, now the one thing that I have noticed, which again, a lot of this really depends on the debates next week. The one thing that I have noticed is that Hillary Clinton has started to pop back up in the news and in her appearances and that kind of thing. So do I really think there is a possibility that he could get switched out? The longer he stays in the race, the less likely that is going to happen. However, that being said, it doesn't mean that it's not impossible. They could hold a vote at the Democrat National Convention that could change everything. And of course, that happens in August. Now, there's a really good piece by Larry Bell in Newsmax, where it's an opinion piece. Here, let me show it to you. There's an opinion piece, and he essentially asked that question: will desperate Dems dump Biden anytime soon? And he says that they should. Now, a lot of this, you've got to understand that a lot of this questioning and discussion and so on and so forth is actually coming from the Democrats themselves. Propaganda outlets for the Democrat Party, like Politico, have observed things like a pervasive sense of fear has settled in at the highest levels of the Democrat Party over Joe Biden's reelection prospects, even among office holders and strategists who had previously expressed confidence about the coming battle. It continued to say, all year, Democrats have been on a joyous and exhausting grind through 2024, the election season. But now, nearly 5 months from the election, anxiety has morphed into palpable trepidation And according to more than a dozen party leaders and operatives, and as well as the gap between what Democrats will say on TV or in print and what they text their friends, these are growing, and they are obviously diametrically opposed from one another. They are running scared here, people. They really, really are. And if you don't believe me, here's the Politico piece right here. Dems in full-blown freakout over Biden. One advisor to major Democrat donors keeps a running list of reasons that Biden could lose. They are aware of what's going on. They are aware of the shakiness of Joe Biden. And so a lot is riding on next week. A lot is riding on Thursday, the 27th. Now, speaking about that, I've actually been considering doing a simulcast of the debates if I can find it and be able to simulcast it, and potentially during the commercial breaks give you some analysis during those commercial breaks. Now, if anybody would be interested in that, of course, please just let me know in the chat. You can either do it right now, or we can even discuss it a little bit more next week. But that being said, that is my plan for Thursday, 1 week from tonight, for the show, because I believe it starts, the debate starts at 8:30 Eastern time. Well, I don't know if the debate starts then, but that's when other places like the Daily Wire's Backstage is going to actually going to start transmitting as well. So we'll just kind of have to see. We'll just have to see what's going on. So then again, like I said, if you're interested in something like that, then you can join me on Thursday, because I think that's what I'm going to do for it. If I really don't get a good feeling out of it, and maybe it might change, but right now, yeah, that's what we're looking at, is that. All right. Let me see did I miss anything here? Yeah, no, just the piece in Politico does kind of go through a few with some of the Democrat donors and, people who try and get more money. They talk about how they are calling the Democrat donors again, and they're essentially saying that, hey, you guys, you've already donated. Thank you very much for doing so. But now we need to open up a little bit more, and you need to donate some more to us so that we can defeat Donald Trump. And of course, the whole concept of from the Democrat Party that Donald Trump is essentially going to destroy democracy. You're going to see that kind of talk ramp up a lot further. Now, I've already told you and talked to you about that with regards to the fact that we are a constitutional republic. I explained that on an episode earlier this week. You can go and check that out. But the thing about it is that there are Democrats who are concerned about this. And there's also Democrats, too, by the way, that are in their own reelection campaigns, and they are basically not pushing the fact that if they have been endorsed by Joe Biden, they're not pushing that fact, or they're in the reality. They are backing away from Joe Biden and hoping that he just ignores them, because it's not helping them at all in terms of the long run. All right, so let me get to a sponsor real quick, because I kind of went over on that. So let me get to a sponsor. And of course, as you can see, I am in a fantastic, this one here is the Declaration of Independence shirt. But as you can see, this is a wonderful shirt from theflagshirt.com. And if you go to theflagshirt.com and get an order in, they are guaranteeing delivery for Independence Day. So go to theflagshirt.com. You can check out all of their fantastic styles for men, women, kids, They have accessories like hats and glasses and all kinds of stuff to show your patriotic pride on this Independence Day. Head on over to theflagshirt.com and check out all of their products that they have available. You can also get free shipping on orders of $75 or more there, but I am going to kick in an additional $5 off coupon if you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online. You can get yourself a coupon code that you can enter in at checkout in the promo code box to get yourself an additional $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and get yourself that coupon code to enter in at checkout at theflagshirt.com for $5 off your order. That's theflagshirt.com. Get yourself patriotized for this Independence Day. All right. So last night we had discussed, I had discussed the fact that we could be looking at a potentially second Cold War, and that the proliferation of active nuclear weapons is actually increasing, even though the number of nuclear weapons in the world is still decreasing as Cold War era weapons are being dismantled and disposed of. Well, one thing that came out, again, just to support my theory and synopsis, is the fact that, and this is coming from responsiblestatecraft.org, but here you can take a look and see that the world's spending on nuclear weapons is exploding to more than $90 billion. So according to this piece, worldwide spending on nuclear weapons rose by $10.8 billion between 2022 and 2023, with 80% of the increase coming from the United States. Now, what could they possibly know that we don't? What could they possibly feel that we don't? And this is according to a new report that was released on Monday by the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons. The $10.8 billion increase brings annual global spending up to $91.4 billion. From 2019 to 2023, $387 billion has been spent on nuclear weapons. By comparison, just to give you an idea, World Food Program Executive Director stated in 2021 that to end world hunger, countries could spend $40 billion per year through 2030, which is a total of $360 billion over those 9 years. And that's just a comparison for that. So we could essentially, based off of the $387 billion being spent from 2019 to 2023, we could essentially, at least according to him, end world hunger for that. Now, ICAN actually points to weapons companies profiting off of these surges in spending on nukes, noting that the top 20 companies working on nuclear weapons earned more than $31 billion from their nuclear-related work in 2023. And there's at least $335 billion in outstanding nuclear weapons contracts to these companies, some of which continue for more than a decade, according to the report. Honeywell International, Northrop Grumman, BAE Systems, Lockheed Martin, and General Dynamics all top the list of companies that are profiting from nuclear weapons expenditures. So basically what we're seeing is a worldwide push, with the United States in the lead, a worldwide push for more nuclear weapons. Nuclear proliferation is apparently the best friend. And not that I'm saying that we don't need it, because let me just say, peace through strength was Ronald Reagan's push, and I agree with it. You know, walk softly but carry a big stick was another adage that I do believe in. But the fact of the matter is that we need to understand that this is doing is just putting fuel onto the fire, escalating the already heated scenarios that we have going on throughout the world today. And especially when you see things like coalitions being formed between places like Russia, China, North Korea, all of those things that are going on, I got to tell you, it's very, very concerning to see all of this going on throughout, and especially with the idea that, as I explained on the last episode with regards to the nuclear Cold War, we also have new players such as Iran that is probably coming into play with regards to it. So, yeah, this is a bit of a problem. Now, one last thing before I go, because this is the mainstream media is probably going to make this out to be much bigger than what it actually is. Okay. This in the Washington Examiner, and this is directly in relation to the Supreme Court. Now, keep in mind, we're still waiting on some opinions, some very key opinions from the Supreme Court. Number one being, of course, Trump's immunity case, as well as the obstruction charges for the January 6ers. Those are like the two top ones that we are waiting on, and they're scheduled to come out this month. But that being said, some opinions have been leaking out, one of them being this one, where the Washington Examiner has in their headline, Supreme Court upholds Biden-backed tax on foreign corporate investments. Now, the thing you have to understand is that this decision does not open the door for a wealth tax, as the mainstream media and some political pundits have been talking about. This is a very narrow and very specific decision, one that is, shall we say, become typical out of the Supreme Court. And it was actually written by Brett Kavanaugh. It's a 7-2 decision. And basically what happened here was the case known as Moore versus the United States. It was brought by a Washington state couple who argued that the $15,000 increase in their tax bill due to the tax was unconstitutional because it taxed unrealized income. Now, if you'll keep in mind, unrealized income is what the Biden administration is attempting to use in order to increase tax revenue. But this particular Supreme Court decision does not bring back, or does not affect that wealth tax as we know it. This decision is very specific to this particular case, and it leaves the door open. In fact, they reference that in this opinion, is that it's not going to be, that this is not going to affect any cases that might come up based off of a wealth tax later on this year or any other time in terms of, Joe Biden, because we know how Joe Biden likes to skirt the Supreme Court. Not like it would really matter anyway, because he'll just ignore it, which is yet another reason why you should not vote for Joe Biden in 2024 in November. All right. That is it for me tonight. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account, and find and follow the American Perspective channel. Don't forget, folks, tomorrow and Saturday, I am not broadcasting. I have an alternate engagement that needs to be handled. So we will see you again on Monday. Do me a favor, on your way out, make sure that you press that thumbs up button in Rumble and any other like buttons from Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, any of these other ones, just do me a favor and hit those like buttons. I do appreciate it. We will see you on Monday next time on the American Perspective broadcast. Have a great rest of your evening and a fantastic weekend. Oh, wait, I have one more thing I need to do. I just caught it. I thank you for the reminder. So Mark over on Facebook is celebrating his birthday today. So here we go, Mark, just for you, buddy. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you. There you go. Have a great birthday. Have a great weekend, and we will see you all on Monday. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.